So, number 5?
Blue Fire.
Number 5 is Blue Fire at Europa Park, a beautiful recreation of a real-life roller coaster at Europa Park that came out really, really, really well. It was just expert crafting, and the person who put this together came in 10th last year. He's up in 5th now. He had made a previous recreation of Blue Fire, did a lot of changes to it, and really focused on building the outside environment. So in addition, some of the shots along with Blue Fire, you can see the neighboring coaster Wudon there. You can see Silver Star off further in the background, and the village and all of the buildings that lead up to it, and a really good job of recreating the queue line experience. So that effort into the scenery and the whole ride experience, including the dark ride portions of it leading up to the launch and just showing the whole thing, came together really, really, really well, which is what brought it up to 5th place.
Yeah, I thought this was very, very solid. I really enjoyed it. The one thing is one of those that felt kind of long to me, though, overall. And I mean, I know a lot to show, but I think for me, overall, it felt a little long. So.
Yeah, and I would say the same thing. It's like I don't think when you're doing a Roundup submission, you don't need to show everything. You need to show a good 3 to 4 minutes, unless you've got some story that makes it so that you have to have more time. But try and stick to 3 to 4 minutes. Show the best stuff. And get out, and then you can do another video that has the full walkthrough and stuff like that, because it is impressive. The queue is really expertly crafted. The whole environment is incredible. But as somebody sitting here judging you, even though I'm not doing that, but the actual judges of Roundup.
Oh, you're totally judging them. You were judging them so hard, Mike. I know. You're just sitting there going, "Darr!" You were swearing at the screen.
Yeah, they don't need to see everything that you're doing. They just need to see the best parts of what you're doing.
Agree. But what is there? I mean, I understand wanting to show all this off because it is very, very impressive. I really liked the animatronic right before you launched. That was very cool.
That whole scene was pretty impressive. That is actually accurate to Blue Fire.
That's what the understanding is, that's really well done and really put together. I haven't been on Blue Fire myself, but I think every bit of that is there. And to echo what you guys said, that was part of our comments. The video was too long, and the queue line is amazing. It's the kind of thing that should be discovered, saying, here, download it and explore the whole thing. Show off some select shots of what you built for the queue, of just kind of like quick pop-ins of check this out, check this out, check this out, without having to linger on it, to walk through the whole queue. That's where we don't need the whole walking tour of the queue. We want to see the best parts to appreciate and to get the point across of, you fully recreated this exactly, and great job. And move on to the coaster, and then allow us to then explore the rest of it later offline. But the video presentation portion of it, that's where you need to have it be captivating the whole way through, and there is not a single queue tour out there that is captivating for the entire length of it.
Nope, probably not. So if they had done those things, where would this have placed, do you think?
If it was a tighter video, it may have crept its way up a place into knocking into 4th place. Getting much higher than that, the top 3 were, when we watched them, those were pretty much exactly where they were going to be. Yeah. And for that one, for details, we'll discuss when we get there. But it could have edged its way up into 4th, given the level of competition. And if it was a really sharply cut together video, maybe even, well, probably it may have topped out at 4th, given what the competition at the top was.
Okay, cool. Okay.
No,
so yeah, guys, understand, less is more. And even if you have done all of this great work, you really just have to give a taste so that it kind of leaves the person wanting more. And then they can watch the full walkthrough video. But that's
one of the things. That's one of the things we talked about when making videos, like POV videos. Is I don't want people scrubbing. Yeah. I want people watching all of it. So yeah,
cool.
Short, less is more. Excellent. Cool. Number 4, Rekka the Defiant.
Indeed, yes. This was a wonderful coaster. Dueling B&M hyper coasters in a really cool creative layout. This gentleman placed last year, I believe it was 8th place, and it was his video editing skill that he had the wing coaster that had that really trippy portion.
No, that was Anamiki.
Yeah, that was same guy.
Oh, is it?
It's the same guy, yeah.
Okay.
So this year he ended up in 4th place,
cool.
And really the strength of this one is the video editing. He is just really sharp with the cuts and the angles and the shots, and a lot of creativity. That's super compact. This is a perfectly edited video.
Yeah.
2 minutes 41 seconds of nonstop action and perfectly captivating. Great coasters, well put together. Great dueling through all that. The scenery is covered. The background looks filled. Not a lot of custom objects in there, just a lot of the background natural scenery. The strength of how well built the coasters are and insanely well on how they were presented is what brought him up into 4th place. Just top notch.
Well, now that I hear your critique, I understand it better, because at first I was kind of like, really, this is the 4th place, but for me, I found the oversaturation in the video. It kind of threw me off. But yeah, now that I hear you explain it, yeah, you're right. It is a very, very tightly edited, well done video for sure.
Very stylized with that music, which I can only assume is possibly from an anime or something. It's incredibly like visceral. I love the freaking red flashes and everything. I love everything about this video, but I loved Animiki from last year too. I thought it was one of the best videos in that whole roundup.
Absolutely. Yeah,
I am missing the full POV though.
Yeah, we didn't see the full POV of both sides, and I think he sacrificed that intentionally to keep the video compact
and probably to sync with the music better.
You kind of have to, well. Yeah.
Because you got mega scuff from your Nero video. Because you cut away from the POV. A lot of people hated you for that.
Right.
But it's what the music dictated.
Right, so. Exactly. And so
last year in 7th place, there was the Kohi and Cambria coaster that year. It was a 3 evils, and it had 3 dueling coasters that all had parallel lift hills and interwove around each other so that they constantly met up throughout the whole main ride. And it was brilliantly executed and very difficult to line up 3 coasters that are... 2 is hard enough to get them to line up over and over again. 3 is just nuts. And he did it. And part of what kind of worked against him is he showed full POVs of all 3 of those coasters, which once you're getting into that 3rd one, things are starting to drag a little bit. And so we had some... which is just tough given the nature of it. So you have to kind of think of how can you get this to... be a little more compact. That'd be one where you sacrifice some of the POV or find ways to show all 3 of the POVs at once, or just show one of them with looking around to see how the other trains are interacting and getting the point of, if I was riding those ones, I would see similar views over there coming back here.
Yeah, right. The other problem with that, it was a Mobius coaster, so that was 3 different coaster rides.
Oh, they weren't.
Wasn't it?
They're separate coasters, but they weren't Mobius.
Oh, I thought they were Mobius.
No, that'd just be that'd be fun in real life, but no, they had parallel stations too.
Yeah.
Okay. No, the presentation is bananas. I specifically love the lift hill and the way they did the supports. As it launches, I really like that. I don't know why, but I really like that part of the submission. So.
Absolutely. Yeah. And another little plug for NoLimits too. The custom supports that are in there, you can build anything, any kind of shape. You're not constrained at all by the system. You can build all those, go with some presets and then modify them, or just build entire elaborate structures completely by hand. It's all up to you on how you want to do it. And that's a big selling point of us versus other systems that we let you do whatever you want to do with it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, you don't have to use
really
cylinders stacked on top of one another.
We are. Ha-ha.
Yeah. 3,000 pieces or 300 pieces.
Yes, 300 pieces per support. Well,
you hear that, Kinderly? Sorry.
That's the thing. I'm surprised he doesn't play NoLimits too.
Yeah, maybe he'll watch this video and that'll change his mind.
Yeah, I say play. Maybe. It's not play.
Yeah,
this is serious work.
It's
this isn't fun.
We run into this too, where we kind of call it a game, but it's a simulator. It's built in a computer. We built our own engine for it, but it's kind of, you need a good gaming machine to do that, and we're kind of reaching out to some gamers, but we've really, with NoLimits, it's professional software that also is used by fans as well. It's very approachable that way.
It's the same thing. All of us have the professional editing software that we all use for our videos, and it's the Photoshop of coaster design. It really is.
It really is. And Photoshop is not Paint for a very good reason. It's more complicated, and it's got controls you do have to spend a little bit of time learning them, and as soon as you learn them, you do amazing things.
Yeah.
All right. Cool. Top
Number
3.
3rd place. Number 3.
Top 3.
The top 3. Let's see what we have here. We have Paragon, an Aether Systems hypercoaster. This is a team of people put this one together. Which is interesting since there's only one prize and they will have to split it.
Cut it. They'll cut it.
3 people put it together with the design of the coaster and the design of the themed environment. The work, though, is exceptional. The coaster is very well built. Lots and lots and lots of detail and realism in the supports and the structure and the everything and how it was built and how it operates. Tons of tiny little details in there that are tough to pick up on, but they just add to the realism of what they've created. And on top of that, they put together a very interesting opening intro segment that looks like it's playing on an old VHS tape that's having a hard time tracking, explaining what they put together. The environment's got some kind of metro train system that's running through there and a drop ride, and the scenery is all filled in. You don't see empty grass anywhere. It's out to the horizon. It's the whole area, the whole valley's filled in with detail, and it's very nicely put together and solid. Absolutely earned its third place.
Well, there you go.
The only thing
that's enough said about that.
The only thing I can't get past is that I know it's a roller coaster competition, but what in the world does the story have to do with the coaster?
Exactly. That we picked up on that too. Of the opening, when we saw that opening video VHS clip in there, it's like, this is a really cool, clever, stylized system. Or test riders, an old videotape thing. Are we in for like an old beat up coaster that's kind of being especially rickety because it was put together a long time ago, or what the environment's going to look like? And then we get into the actual ride, and the shots are all spectacular. The ride is pristine and gleaming. It didn't connect in terms of that opening VHS tape that's kind of falling apart from a long time ago, and the actual ride experience itself didn't seem to have much to do with each other.
Maybe that's the issue I had, because I had... That makes sense, because you go in, you get that VHS experience, and then that's what you're expecting kind of the rest of the ride to somehow mirror that, and it is so slick, and the editing is so crisp. That might have been why I thought it might have even been over-edited in some parts. I thought it was maybe a little too much. And maybe that's just because of the VHS kind of vibe at the beginning. I don't know.
Yeah, my deal with it was that Aether Systems was a mass transit organization or mass transit company. So why would they build this? And it doesn't...
Is it a prototype?
I guess, but why? If you're gonna put a story out there, you have to explain why the hell it exists.
Exactly. Although in their defense and in their credit, notice we are debating the finer points of why this story exists and how it connects to the coaster, and that it was a misfire. It wasn't that it wasn't there, and we could appreciate the effort to have the setting and environment and to put all that together, which is the big thing that helps experiences and videos for this competition do well, is having some kind of intention, some story, something that's piecing all this together. So it's not just, I'm riding a roller coaster. It's you're putting a place and a presence and a background behind it that you're expressing through your video presentation, which is the big goal of what we want to see. Then what we always try to reward is that effort of putting together a story, and if it's really well executed, it raises you up the ranks really quickly.
Right, yeah, we're picking nits here at this point. I mean, our critique of this coaster is far different than some of the others. I wish he would have had a better sense of, cohesion between his beginning and his ending and his editing style. I mean, that has nothing to do with how fantastic of a project this really is.
But if you're going to follow a narrative, it has to make sense to the end. It's good. You're going to chain yourself to something. It better work for you. Because I don't feel like in this instance it did. But
absolutely.
For positives, the supports are incredible. The freaking cinematic design. I know there were 3 people that worked on this, I think. So one person worked on layout, one person worked on environment, and then one person worked on the final video. Whoever did the video. I love the lighting. Holy crap. Good job.
Yeah. This nighttime scene is insane. Yeah. I just keep watching it. I love it.
It's beautiful, and absolute big props to one of the 3 in there for we can see the coaster, and he'll know exactly what we're talking about. We can actually see it. It's wonderful.
Yeah, it's nice.
Even at night,
you can see it. It has lights on it. It's cool.
It's cool. Yay! So we'll just let that sit there and smile, wink, and nod.
This video, I think this video made NoLimits 2 look the most beautiful, I would say.
Concur.
It's a toss-up between this and second place.
Second place.
Second place.
F1 Raceway from the Creative Studio. This thing was just a masterpiece of putting together a whole little region of a park. Brilliant Mobius dueling racing coasters with a great racing theme, with buildings that support that for the whole custom queue area. Just everything well thought out for the whole. This is exactly what you would expect or hope a major amusement park would show you as they're expanding and creating a new themed land in their park. This is what you expect to see out of them, with professional 3D rendered graphics and with tons of artists spending months working on it. This is what you expect to see, and this was done by one person inside of NoLimits, bringing his own objects and some very clever creative scripting, including putting together his own custom Intamin Zack spin coaster by using some very clever tricks to get the physics of the flipping working.
Yeah, that doesn't exist in NoLimits too. That's not.
Wow, really? Okay,
know that looking at it.
NoLimits noob here. Oh wow, I would have no idea.
Yeah.
Holy cow! This was my favorite one. This was my favorite. I like this one because it is so clearly this would be in a theme park, and as one of those, that's my jam. So I loved this one. My only complaint is the song he chose. I don't mind the song he chose. It's used well. It runs out.
Yep.
The song ends, and he's still got to finish his ride.
Yep, that was the toughest thing in there. And I know why he ran out, because he wanted to get that Scream to line up with the second launch, which makes sense for what you're trying to do. But you can't have the music run out to just dead silence.
Yeah.
While you're waiting for the ride to finish, he should have had some other music ready to go to pick up the rest of that right then and there to fill in that silence. So that's the biggest glaring black eye on this otherwise spectacular presentation, is that everything else is flawless. That just isn't.
Yeah, it's like roll credits as you're giving your final monologue of the movie to wrap everything up. That's kind of how it felt. And that was such a bummer because it was so fantastic. I love the lighting on the car. Is that all? Now, the lighting on the cars, are those custom cars, or does that come with, because there's like LED lights. The track glows. I love it.
Yep.
There's
a lot of things going on here. The track is native to the system. Those trains are actually custom. We have tricks to allow for custom trains, which is essentially people are switching the train to. They've got a hidden coaster that mirrors the exact coaster there that's in wireframe and told not to render. And then using the scripting, they're attaching their custom cars to the wireframe invisible coaster there, and therefore they then get to enjoy the same physics that would exist inside the system, and they can control it the same way that they would otherwise. So it's a custom train, and with that custom train, since it's custom objects, they can also have lighting, moving lights, or the light is attached to the car. You can do that with the existing trains too. You can attach moving and animated lights that are giving off actual light to the regular coaster cars as well. Just create an object that has the light and the properties, and there you go. That's all you have to do with it, and it'll take care of the rest of it.
And it used to be that NoLimits 2 didn't do real-time lighting very well, but that has changed, hasn't it?
Yeah, we did. We upgraded the engine last year, a year ago, and a whole new engine that has a lot more real-time lighting effects like that and capabilities that people are taking great advantage of.
Cool.
Yeah, excellent. I'll start with a disclaimer saying, yes, I have done a video with this music, but I'm going to say it wasn't the right music for this project at all. It felt like... because Jetstream's coasters did it in Roundup 150, and he did it really well. He used another Jet song that this music was used. I don't think it fits the feel of the project at all, and it runs out. He didn't know how to extend it in a way that could make it naturally feel like it continues to the very end. And then after that, the tone changes pretty dramatically. And as a package altogether, it doesn't work. But for the positives, the visuals are incredible. The track is really exciting. The sound effects, you can hear the little F1 racers as you're going down the launch. Everything else is so incredibly good that one, I think, is a mistake, really hampered the entire presentation.
Yeah, it was very good. In the defense of the song that was chosen, that kind of a fun rock song does work in a race environment, and it's been done in real life once. The example is Silver Star over at Europa Park. They commissioned a custom song for that ride that they play in the queue, and I've got it downloaded. So having that kind of, and it's a similar kind of veining song, even though it's custom, it's still a rock song that's relating to F1 racing cars. So knowing in the back of my head that has been done, I had no problems accepting that type of song with this kind of racing, because it's already been tied together in my head on a real life roller coaster somewhere else. So
interesting.
For me, that worked. But the only thing that we can find wrong with this whole system, with this whole presentation, is just that the music ran out, and that was completely avoidable and completely under his control. But we keep poking at that nit that we're picking because it is the biggest thing. That's the only thing wrong with this. The rest of it's just phenomenal.
And then for me, I think that Paragon did a better job with the cinematics, because there's a point in which the whole screen goes black for a few seconds, and then there is no consistency to the cuts and stuff like that. So it feels like the video editing and that the choice of tone doesn't connect all the way through the video. It feels like it's very strong in the beginning, and then it kind of takes a back seat.
Talking about Paragon or for F1?
F1.
Yeah. I can certainly see that as well. With F1, what edges it out is I agree that the videos and the shooting inside, the shots inside of Paragon are a bit sharper. F1 did the theme is cohesive the whole way through.
Yeah.
And this is where the story and the sense and the emotions of what they're trying to present in how they presented it all combines together really well, versus, and this is the argument on Paragon, where that opening VHS entry couldn't quite connect it to the visuals and how everything was put together, which is why they placed as number 2 and number 3.
Right. I agree. Cool. Well, and then finally, the number
Strathmore.
1, the winner.
Yeah, why did this get first, by the way?
Why did this get first? Well, yeah, we were out of options, and we only had 18 in there, so we had to put something at the top of the list. So I guess the one where he spent 2 years building it, and we could. Yes, this is Alex Tanner's masterpiece effort, Strathmore. As I mentioned before, NoLimits 2 features a 1 square mile build area. He filled it.
He used it
with
all.
castle.
Yeah.
With village and buildings, and then after building this insanely detailed medieval environment that's all custom handcrafted, he then wove a roller coaster, a very long roller coaster with multiple launches through this village, challenging himself to ensure that he did not have big, tall support towers. The supports are built into the scenery to Disney level qualities, where they're barely ever sticking out more than a few feet.
Yeah.
And fitting the coaster in there and building buildings that would work with the coaster and the whole ride design and the concept. And he's got an amazing story that he's presenting. Just the whole package comes together and is brilliantly executed. He had a singular vision that guided him the entire way through, from the music choice, the environment, to the scenery, to the effects he's using during production, other effects that are live inside of the coaster engine itself, weaving the coaster in there, having something that's got 4 distinct parts of the coaster experience and not come across as boring and repetitive. Each one is different. The inversions are all different. There are multiple movements to the coaster that support the ride and the story and everything that's going on. It's an absolute masterpiece, and by far and away, when we saw this, we were like, "Yep, there's our winner. This is the one that sat on top." And this is one of those rare exceptions. It's a 9-minute and 37-second long video that does not feel boring at all.
It needed it. It needed every second.
Yeah, it did, and it used them wisely. You did not feel bored. Like, okay, I've seen all of this. It used every bit of it perfectly.
Right, and I like it because the very first thing is a short film. He calls it a short film because it really is. It's a film that just happens to have a roller coaster in it. And as a fan of Game of Thrones and a musician, I love the music. I mean, that's great music to use for this project. Fantastic. And my favorite part overall, of coaster-wise, was the very beginning, with the narration explaining what you have to do to get into the castle. And then the coaster so perfectly matched that. That was my favorite part of the entire experience. I thought that was so phenomenally done. I was like, all right, I get it. Oh, now we're in the sewers. This is so cool. And I thought that was great, just fantastic.
Very, very strong visual and story elements here. And I love that too, the fact that you have to sidle up against the tower before you drop into
and you
the
have to do the
sewers.
outer bank turn as you scooch around it.
Yeah.
Like that was, I was like, oh, I get why it's, get why it's banked like that. It was,
I feel like I'm going on like some crazy heist or something. It's awesome.
Yeah, it was so well put together and brilliantly executed. Amazing effects and some really clever visual tricks too. Especially the one room where you kind of do this weird half loop flip. You don't realize watching the video, but you're actually upside down. In that one church cathedral little spot before it does a half loop out of it and then launches forward.
Yeah, I have no idea what's going on inside.
Yeah, it's brilliant. He keeps you off balance with a bunch of special effects as he's doing 1.5 rolls. It's
oh yeah, with all that magic stuff.
It's very, very cool. He's got you can watch the POV of the coaster without any of the scenery now on his YouTube channel too, to see what exactly is buried under there. And it's just so much fun. And again, I can't say enough about the brilliance of how the roller coaster's design of all those elements were part of the story and part of the scenery. It wasn't that the story was kind of slapped on top of a roller coaster design, or that the story was then invented to fill up the coaster. No, they are, everything is working hand in hand, and it's completely cohesive. Every piece of this, the music, the shots chosen, the elements on the coaster, what it's doing through each of those, each movement of the whole movie, all make sense, and we're all designed with each other in mind. And that amount of effort and brilliance is this is why it won right there.
Yeah, agree. Yeah, the story clearly came first and was the most important part, and then he made the coaster match his story, and I love it. I also really enjoy. I'm rewatching it now as we're talking.
Yeah, I am too.
I really enjoy the dives down through the towers after you escape. I love that as you escape. That's brilliant. It's really a brilliant ride.
And the idea that something is coming after you and actually altering your reality, like they're throwing you into a different time, is pretty freaking awesome. The way he was able to be so clean that it doesn't look like it's post-processing at all.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yep. And we can't say enough good things about this. This is the one that, if you watch only one NoLimits 2 video all year, this should be the one.
Watch Mike's. No,
please no. No, he did the. I don't know if I ever showed you this, John, but he did the one where the coaster was suspended by giant hot air balloons.
Oh, I was going to mention that. Yeah. I love that one. Okay, well that makes total sense. Yeah. Those are two of my favorite NoLimits videos I've ever seen. Totally
two of the
sense.
videos you've ever seen.
I've seen a lot more than that. I watched at least 10.
At least 12 at this point.
Yeah.
How the hell did you get the ghosts coming out of the statues?
We're going to have to ask him what those effects are, because that's not post-production. He's doing that in the engine.
Yeah.
From what it looks like. So I would imagine you've got a couple of other models that are with translucent textures like that he's playing with the transparencies, and they're just triggered to all start moving forward with a lighting change
that's so
at that point. That's
weird.
It's all doable inside with the tools that are there. It's just a matter of assembling the scripting for it, assembling the models and the lights, and then triggering them so that when the train hits those triggers you've placed on the track, it's setting off certain effects in certain animations.
Bananas.
Which is exactly how real rides work, too.
Yeah,
they hit
I'm so
sensors in the track that make things happen.
Right now. I just got out of the castle, so I'm ooh. And then this giant freaking, I guess that's a dam with the water spilling out, and
those waterfalls. It's can't say enough good things about this one.
Yeah,
and we're shouting it from the rooftops. Everybody go watch Strathmore. And as you pointed out when you tweeted about it, Mike, it's like these are happily 10 happy minutes spent here. You will not regret the time invested in watching this.
Right. And the track smoothness. I mean, how do you get something so wacky that feels like it could be plausible?
And for him, it was even more difficult. We'll go dive back into the NoLimits building techniques here. We have a great hand building system that had a lot of improvements from our original hand building system, and a lot of tools that allow you to, for people like myself who just like to click, feel, and move things around, just kind of watch it all, mold it into shape however you want it to do it. You can do that and come up with really smooth results. in the NoLimits 1 days, the hand building tools couldn't get you that level of precision. We didn't have the visual things that could help you see what was happening, and even though there's a smoothing tool, it couldn't quite get to the same level of sharpness.
And for reference, people that were working with the Planet Coaster tools, that is very similar to how NoLimits 1 functioned.
Yeah, the same kind of constraints of just that particular editing, spline editing style. You're going to hit certain constraints that you need mathematical perfection that you cannot do by hand to resolve. So some fans went and created tools for mathematical perfection. There were various systems that they created so they could work on it, and the net result is the most popular system for this that they call FVD, or force vector design. And the idea is that they are inputting functions or basically controlling a graph of forces, of positive, negative, and lateral forces over time, and using that to create the shape of the track. And the system will then create the track segments that are have the track nodes every meter or so exactly to what that shape is going to be to control. They basically shape it by the forces you're going to exert upon your rider. And because the system is mathematically calculating all of that, the curves are absolutely smooth and perfect because you're controlling it through by being gentle with the forces and controlling that the force is going to start off at 0 and then kind of gently work its way into a sharp curve, and that can create the mathematical perfection of the track, which you then import into NoLimits, and this is the end result. So there are two essential building methods in NoLimits. There's hand building, which I like to do, and you can get really good results that come just about as close to that perfection as you can. And then what I call math building, which are the people that like to build with these kinds of formulas that achieve a different level of perfection that is unattainable by hand just because it's, formulas and it's a different style of building. Some people like it. I'm not a fan because I like to do it with the hands. Either way works. Even if he built all this by hand, though, the rest of the world is so amazing that whatever little bumps in the track might be there that he couldn't quite iron out otherwise, who cares?
Right.
It's so brilliantly executed.
Yeah, absolutely.
So it's fantastic. No one, by the way, has to build by math to get a good smooth coaster. You can build by hand and come up with really good smooth coasters as well. It's just like anything else, how detailed and how much you're paying attention to all the clues and all the visual indicators of how smooth that track is going to be.
Yeah, just like in Planet Coaster, there's a good enough quotient. There's a point where it's just good enough, and it's fine.
Yep. Excellent. Well, that was really enjoyable. That was quality work, 1 through 10, and all fantastic stuff. So.
And I gotta say, I think I'm partnering with Free the Bear to do a Roundup 250.
Oh, really?
Mike's throwing down, finally.
Yeah.
After he lied about doing a 200 entry.
Shut up. That was 2 years ago.
I might put a coaster on YouTube.
Ooh, an entire coaster on the YouTube.
On the YubTubs, that's
he already
right.
has one. Just go to his
don't look at it. Noob Diaries.
Yeah,
Noob Diaries. Oh, it's Bad News Bears.
And all I could say, I think I watched some of those, and as Mike was helping you put it together, I'll just keep trying. You just keep building it. just do a couple more
swimming.
coasters. Yeah, just keep swimming. As I mentioned, and I always will call this out myself, my first couple of attempts were also similarly terrible. So I had to learn the feel of how these tools worked and how to get the most out of what I wanted the end track to look like, to how to use the tools to get it there. And after you do a couple of them, you get there. There's a great tutorial out there from the Codemaster, from Patrick, that's 20 minutes long. He builds a basic wooden coaster and walks you through the steps of it as he does it. And at the end of it,
I actually watched that. And
it's a great start. Everybody does, because he just walks you right through. It's like, here's what the tool does. Here's what you do. I'm going to build churn here. I'm going to bank it this way and connect it over here and smooth these pieces out and run the auto support builder. And there you go. And we have a perfectly functioning basic wooden coaster at the end of 20 minutes. And so the idea that it's hard to build in NoLimits, it just isn't. You have to spend a little bit of time experimenting, and you can put things together really well. Another example of what you can do in a really quick period of time, we've got an annual contest as well called 5 Hours of Power. And this this is a lot of fun. We have people who participate in this one. They will be given about a half an hour's worth of notice as to what the build area is, what area they have to build, and what obstacles they have to work into their coaster design, and what styles they're going to work with. And then we open up the template. They have exactly 5 hours from when that template goes online live for download to download it, build their roller coaster, support it, test it, make sure it works correctly, and then submit it for this contest.
5 hours.
In 5 hours.
Yeah. Wow.
Start to finish. And the things that have come out of that contest and things that have won that contest, there's no way you'd think that they built that in 5 hours.
That's incredible.
In 5 hours forces everybody to build it by hand. One person did manage to do it with Force Vector Design, but it was really tough to do that in that period of time. So these people, they have to use the built-in tools by hand, all the built-in support tools, test it a few times, make sure it's working and meets the criteria, and they come out great. And it's there as an intense challenge. It's a lot of fun to watch everybody swear their way through it as they're all stressed out trying to finish it in time. But to show and demonstrate that the tools do allow for hand building a really good coaster in a short period of time when you spend some time getting used to the tools, and they come out spectacular.
Yeah, if you dial it back to its core and you don't get too involved in all the scenery and stuff like that, NoLimits 2 does the job really well. It's only if you want that additional stuff, if you want the extra scenery and those kind of the stuff that we're seeing in Roundup 200, then you are going to have to bite the bullet and learn a creative program, which is not a bad thing, because then it's a skill that you have for another thing that you need to do. True.
Exactly.
Cool.
It's like anything else. You can take it as far as you want to take it. And there are some people that like to just sit back and make just coasters in empty grass fields, and they focus on making really solid roller coasters. And the roundups each week, we have some of those that are featured. Tim Vandersteen has produced some spectacular coasters. His videos are just straight raw POVs, no music, no editing, just the POV of just really solidly built coasters. And pretty much every time he puts one out there, it ranks.
And then there's a really cool presentation style that I've seen. Is almost like the coaster terrarium, where you've got your land is up to a certain point. Like if you could just put that on a desk, and then you've got your coaster on top of that. So everything around it is just white, and then you've got this area where you've got grass and trees and stuff, and then you've got your coaster, but it's only in that central area. It looks really cool.
Almost like a model, huh? Cool.
Yeah, some people like using the white environment just as a plain empty white space, and others like to have a little, here's the coaster sitting inside of its little spot.
Yeah.
So,
all right, well,
plenty of things.
I hate to say, but I think I have to tend to other business now. We've been here a while, gentlemen.
Yes, we have.
We have.
But that was a lot of fun. Very informative, and you have sparked my interest in NoLimits again. It's been sitting here for a long, long time, just looking at me. So
yeah, just blow the dust off of that and give it a try. I encourage all the Planet Coaster fans out there. I'm never going to say Planet Coaster is terrible. It's great. They do a lot of things really, really, really well. They do things that we don't do. We have our specialties as well. The main thing and I do thank everybody for their time and allowing me to come on the Planet Coaster BroCast here to just to show a little bit about the world of NoLimits, of what's possible and how far you can take it, and to encourage everybody to give it a try. It's not as hard as everybody makes it out to be. In fact, once you, like any other professional software, as soon as you learn a few key tricks, and we will help you. I will personally help you get through whatever roadblocks you have. I'm serious. I will sit there and give you tips and instructions on how to get through various things. So that through our social media channels, I run our NoLimits Facebook page and Twitter. We will get you through it and help you learn to build coasters. And as soon as those things click in by your third coaster, you start seeing how it all lines up. The magic it just opens, and you're like, wow. And then the fun part there is that we then spoil you for any other coaster editor ever, as you realize, hey, but I have such great control there, and I can't do that here.
I've never heard anybody say anything about that ever, Mike.
I don't know what you're talking about.
They only did it like this. I have no idea.
Yeah, if Planet Coaster just had roll nodes, it would make it a lot easier. But whatever.
We're here to talk about NoLimits. It's cool.
I don't necessarily want Frontier stealing NoLimits' IPs either.
Yeah, so they'd have a tough time with that, but that's okay. There's certainly, even back in the days when it was Roller Coaster Tycoon 3 and NoLimits, there's room for both to exist because they have a different focus for what they're going on.
What about Theme Park Studio and NoLimits?
Well, I mean, we can't compete with that.
And on that, we're going to end it. All righty, gentlemen. Well, thanks so much for being here, Ride Up.
You're certainly welcome. Thank you very much for having me. It's been a pleasure chatting with you guys. And everybody enjoy Roundup 200. Go back, check out Roundup 150 and 100, and enjoy our weekly Roundups. And I hope to see plenty of coaster creations coming out of you guys. We'll give you lots of feedback and show you the best way to do things, and give you tips on how to improve. Not the right way, but the best way to improve and refine your techniques, and take it from there.
All right.
Anything else to plug?
I don't think so.
That's all I got right now.
Fantastic. Alrighty, guys.
Some timeshares, if you'd like to have some vacation homes in Florida.
Just got to sit through my 90-minute presentation.
Exactly.
I'm sure this was 90 minutes.
It was probably, actually about that. Yeah, maybe a little more. Mm-hmm.
All right, where's my golf clubs?
Alrighty, guys. Have a great time. Have a great day, and we will see you for the next whatever thing we have.
Yeah, probably in February. This might be a while.
Yeah. So
see ya.
Adios.